Dear Lord, I thank you for this amazing day that we have today. I thank you for the beautiful weather, Lord. Lord, I pray that every single word that I said and that I'm going to say, Lord, is for your glory, Lord, and that makes an impact for everyone here, Lord, and even an impact for me, Lord. I thank you for all that you continue to do in our lives, Lord. I thank you for the blessings, Lord, and may we continue to strive after you, hand and foot, Lord, and giving our all to you, Lord. Can you pray? Amen. So, okay, something crazy happened Wednesday. I just wanted to start off a little, it was kind of funny, and it made me laugh a lot. And I was like, how do I tie this into my message? Because it didn't really, tie in at all, but I wanted to say it. So, it was youth group. We were playing Gaga Ball. We were doing knockout. And there was a sermon on rest, okay? Really good sermon. I tell you guys to listen to it, but it wasn't recorded. Devastating. So we were walking outside. I hit the right of the youth group, okay? And I was on target to reach my car. And I was going down this hallway, all right? I'm walking. And right to the left of me, there's a church office. And there's 3 kids. There's a 10-year-old, there's an 8-year-old, and another year-old. I don't know. But when I got there, for some reason I said, you guys look like you're up to no good. Why I use the accent, why I said anything, I don't know. I have this chronic impulse to say something to somebody, even if I don't know them. It creates awkward situations. I don't recommend it. But I said it to the 10-year-old, and I just saw disgust in his eyes, I just deeply offended him. I'm like, oh boy, what's he gonna say? And so he said, straight eyes, he's like, how old are you? I'm like, I'm 21. And he says, you look like a 17-year-old with a beard. And I was just in shock. I'm like, not my beard. I'm 21 years old. I go to Evangel. I'm a college student at junior year. And so I think I said that. And without even hesitation, the 8-year-old girl, she says, I wonder what college is going to think of him. I was like, geez, they're roasting me left and right. But in these moments, in this brief moment of verbally being depleted, it reminded me about how we think we're in the stage of, in my moment of adulthood. I think I have facial hair. I'm still immature though. I think I am a youth leader, but I still have so much to learn. And so I think I'm an adult sometimes. In reality, I'm not. I skip a few steps sometimes mentally, but I'm not quite there yet. And that's when it comes to discipleship. A lot of times we think we're there, but we skip a lot of steps. And we haven't even made it to square one most of the time. And at times it takes a 10 or 8-year-old to make you aware of your situation. And sometimes it's the Bible. In this case, it's going to be the Bible. So if you guys have the scripture, the Bible, turn to Matthew 16, verse 24. We're going to read through 26. If you have them, spectacular. If you don't, I'm sad. But, so, give you time, guys. Take your time. All right. Matthew 16, verse 24, it says, Then Jesus said to his disciples, very important, Jesus said to his disciples, Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it. What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? And so, as the disciples, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes right now, and I'm listening to Jesus, and I'm like, why is he talking about discipleship right now? We are his disciples. We've made it. I mean, we've seen the feeding of the 4,000, the feeding of the 5,000. We saw Jesus walk on water. We saw him resurrect a dead girl, heal a sick woman, heal a man with leprosy, and he had already sent us out. In chapter 10, verse 1 in Matthew, it says, Jesus called his 12 disciples to him and gave them authority to drive out impure spirits and heal every disease and sickness. He had already called them out to purge the evil spirits in people. So why is he starting from square one? Why is he saying, this is how you are going to be a disciple? Aren't we already disciples? And so it really makes us think, it really makes us ponder, why does he restate what a disciple looks like? And so I really thought about it. I read up on it, what it looks like, and why he said that. And what the conclusion I came to is, it's because denying oneself, taking up a cross, following Christ is something that needs to be renewed and it needs to be reassessed continually. If we look in the previous verses, we have Peter, okay? And it's in Matthew 16. Peter is called the rock at which I build my church by Jesus. Jesus literally prophesies his future right then and there. And with this comes the weight of the responsibility of I have to push the faith. I have to lead this faith. I have to push the churches in my hands, essentially. And so there's all this weighing down on Peter. And it's really disheartening because in 7 verses later, Jesus calls Peter Satan. That hurts. If even Peter, the one that we can assume to be the most zealous, the most dedicated to Jesus, he even stumbles, what's that even look like for ourselves? Because in verse 23, Matthew 16, verse 23, Jesus, if I'm going to surmise it, he says, I'm going to die and I'm going to be resurrected. And Peter says, word for word, he says, never, Lord, this shall never happen to you. This isn't Peter's place. This isn't his responsibility. This isn't his plan. This is Jesus' plan. Who is he to say that, Jesus, you're not going to die? And he's thinking to himself, I would rather die than Jesus. I would put myself in his place before him. I would do whatever it takes at all costs before Jesus dies. And it's surprising, Jesus' response. Usually, like us, we would think, thank you for like putting yourself in that position for you would take my burden. But no, Jesus says, this is not, Peter. This is not what I asked you to do, Peter. He literally says, get behind me, Satan. You're a distraction to me. And Peter has to learn over and over to deny himself. He has to be willing to first deny himself before he takes his cross. And I like to think, you know how Peter, he denied Jesus 3 times. Instead of, he couldn't take up his cross when it came to the moment where he was supposed to. Because he didn't hit that first step of denying himself. And if I'm going to be honest, I think that first step of denying yourself is, I'm the most concerned about it. That's what makes me think the most, because I'm not trying to diminish taking up the cross. I'm not trying to diminish following Jesus, because I think those are very important. But if you don't get that first step, that first foundation, those other 2 ones are out the door. And we see that in Peter, since he denied Jesus 3 times, he couldn't even take up his cross. And I believe there's a lot of us in this room, me included, many times we don't deny ourselves. We don't continually reassess our lives and deny ourselves. And it's sad because even our greatest efforts, our greatest determination, our greatest efforts, we're never going to get past this natural wall. We need God's supernatural abilities to climb over this wall, to succeed supernaturally. And a lot of us are in this season right now, especially with exams, that work it's flowing out of our ears. It's spilling. We don't even want to wake up in the morning because we have so much on our plates. And we come to a point where even coffee doesn't fulfill us. It doesn't give us the juice to get through the day. And that's when Jesus, he says, let go of yourself. Rest on me. Let go. I want to carry your burden. I want to carry your yoke. Deny yourself and lean on God, because he's going to supply supernaturally where the world can't supply your needs, where you even can't supply your needs. And we have to be in the state where we are available and we're open to thinking, okay, maybe God does know what he's doing. Maybe I can trust in him. And if we skip down again to Matthew 16, verse 25, it states, for whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it. One thing Peter does get right in the previous verses is he did say, I would give my life up for you, Christ. Although he couldn't do it in the end, he did get that verbal commitment. And Jesus continues with this line of assessing ourselves and our statuses and our priorities in the verse 25. And he gives us 2 future verb tenses. He gives us, we'll save it or we'll lose it. And I was looking at commentaries and I was like, what does that really mean, to will save or will lose? And they put it in a term where it only applies to judgment day. And that just irks, that's just inside me that didn't feel right. There has to be a reason why it was said that we can apply it now. I believe that it's something we have to analyze our lives. We have to assess our lives daily. Because it's not necessarily all about eternity. Although that's great, that's wonderful. It's about right now. Because if we forget about the right now, if we forget about the next, we're going to not even make it to eternity. It's very crucial. And so when we sacrifice our lives for Christ, it's not just a throwing away our lives, it's getting a new life. It's winning. It's a win. It's a gaining life. Because Christ wants us so much to be a part of him. He wants to be so a part of our lives. He doesn't want to get rid of your interests. He doesn't want to get rid of your creativity. He wants all your creativity, all your interests to orbit him. He doesn't want to just be a shooting star that you rarely see when your life is falling apart. I like how Brunner puts it because he says, God is not anti our life. He is anti-preoccupation with our life. What are you guys preoccupying your lives with? That's not a part of God. That's not of God. What are you exchanging your relationship for instead of having God in that? In verse 26, it says, What good will be for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? What are you guys sacrificing for your relationship with God? Bear with me for a minute. Yeah. Just think to yourselves, what is distracting you from your relationship with God? Is it trying to find identity in your relationship? Is it working so hard and making yourself so busy that you forget about what's actually truly important in your life? The relationships that are important in your life? Is it comparison of someone with yourself? Is this... is it working, or are you comparing yourself with the talents of someone in your passion or in your field that you can't even look at them because you can't even appreciate it. You can't even appreciate their talents because you have this comparison of yourself with them. Is jealousy dominating your life? To be honest, jealousy's dominated my life a lot. I look at other people and I say, why don't I have that? Why don't I have that eloquence? Why don't I have that leadership capabilities that these people have? And it drives me crazy. I can't even worship. I can't even sleep at night because I'm thinking of them and I'm not thinking of what God has given to me in this moment. These talents. I need to foster these talents He's given me, and I can't keep looking at other people because I'm never going to be fulfilled looking at other people. I'm going to be fulfilled by fostering these things that God's given me. So we look at here, and this is the these are what you're, these are what you're exchanging for a relationship with God. You guys can see. Are you going to let your preoccupations be consumed? Are you going to let that form to consumption of your life? Because this is what death looks like. This looks like the people that you've hurt. This looks like you that's been hurt. It's not pretty, honestly. It's sour. It's going to reek at some point when it gets made. It's not pretty. And the thing is, we constantly contribute to it. We constantly contribute to this concoction of death over and over again, because it's our nature, it's our human nature to want these self-satisfying things. These Oreos are delicious, and they're self-satisfying for a moment, but in eternity, it's going to be gross. It's not. It doesn't help us. It doesn't aid us. And so we had to seek after God for supernatural abilities or a supernatural God to help fulfill these curb these cravings, to curb this. This isn't what life is all about. Our life is supposed to be for Jesus. And so when we look back and we step back, we look at what death has made, what a life outside of Christ looks like. That doesn't look pretty to me. And I can tell you when it's blended, it looks, appreciate it. It looks absolutely gross.
Please make sure that's going to not spray. I'm pleading with you.
And then, okay, probably could use some more blending. But as I close, all these words, all these scriptures, all these references, I don't want to make you feel condemned. I don't want to make you feel judged. I don't want you to make you feel guilty, because I want you to feel aware. I want you guys to feel aware of your present state, where you are. We're all made to be a part of this discipleship process. We are called to be disciples. We're called to go out into the world. And we have to take that first step. We have to lunge towards that first step. And we had to look at Peter, who consistently struggled with getting past himself. We had to use him as an example that we can't be like Peter in that sense. We have to let go of ourselves, let go of our pride, and let God's gentle nudges, God's gentle call to us, and follow him. And we have to deny ourselves first. And then we're able to take up his cross, or take up our cross. And then we're going to be able to follow him fully. For we know that a life that isn't open to Christ, it leads to death. A life that isn't available to Christ, it leads to death. And the only way to save our lives is to live for Christ. How are you guys working on being available to Christ? How are you working on being disciples? Are you taking that first step? I challenge you guys, if you haven't already, take it. And I don't want this whole sermon to make you guys feel guilty that you haven't taken it already, because it's tough. You have to let go of everything you believe yourself to be and give it to Christ.